This is the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Podcast Network.
Scored a touchdown earlier on a direct snap. Now it's Michelle's turn, running all the way. Gets to the edge. Sonny Michelle will send the Dogs home to the championship game.
53.5-yard drive near hash, kick right, snap, hold, kick is away, it's reaching, and it is good, good, good. Hot Pod does it. All right, Hot Pod.
Wilcox with an up and out, wide open. Touchdown. Israel Troupe.
All right, what's up, guys? We're back. Better than ever. It's the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, also coming at you on Brinks TV. Coming back from a bye week. We actually took a bye week ourselves. Glad to be back. Joining me from South Georgia is my main man, Israel Troupe. What's up?
What up, man? Glad to be back. It was a long week last week. I know you guys missed us, but we're back in action, looking ahead to this Georgia-Florida matchup. I'm very excited about this weekend, actually. It's going to be a good one. It's going
to be a great one. Not a good one. It's going to be a great one. We're going to give you everything you need to know with this matchup. But, we are presented by betonline.ag. It's your number one spot. Israel, have you taken any action lately?
I have not. I literally just logged in today so I could do a little action this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to make some picks here and later on down the show, as you see on our rundown. But yeah, it's I haven't really done much lately, but I need to get back into it. There's some interesting lines, and I feel like there's some easy money in there for some parlays. So, but it is still the number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. They have more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Just about anything you want to bet on. So what you need to do is you need to head to the new and updated desktop or website or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use that promo code BELIEVE50 and you'll receive that bonus. So from basketball, football, baseball postseason, the World Series, my Braves, it's tied 1-1. NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So, like I said, lots of action. Anything from week 8, and I emphasize the word week. Week 8, not a whole lot of action, especially in the SEC. LSU got their brains beat in. They don't even have enough people to practice this week. That's how bad it's gotten down there. And then, Florida was off. I think the next best game was Mississippi State Vandy. Not much going on in the SEC. I guess the two biggest games were a future SEC team almost losing to Kansas. That was interesting. And then Iowa State finally playing like the Iowa State that we expected. Anything stand out to you from this weekend?
The debacle at Clemson right now. We thought QB5 was going to be the man to kind of keep the tradition going of great quarterbacks to come through Clemson. And he got benched in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't know what's going on. Tony Elliott is a great offensive mind, but offensively, I think they're just struggling. They're struggling a lot. Defense stand on the field a lot. I'm surprised with Pittsburgh, though. Pittsburgh's playing some really good football. I watched the Miami-NC State game. Now, that game surprised me because I thought NC State was going to, run away with Miami just from the simple fact that Miami's been struggling. But Miami came out, played a good game. So I think it probably saved the head coach's career. Head coaching job by just winning this weekend. So the ACC has some really big surprises. But I like Pitt over there in the ACC now. They're doing a really good job. Does
Kenny Pickett have a chance at Heisman? Is he in the race now?
I think he is after a big solid win against Clemson's defense. Come on.
Yeah. Clemson, man, going back to your point on Clemson, that they have a true quarterback competition there, but man, do they miss Travis Etienne. Will Shipley just ain't the guy. He dropped a
when you
big
got a quarterback
pass.
that's struggling. When you got a quarterback that's struggling, you've got to be able to run the football. And they can't run it and they can't throw it, so
they can't protect it either.
Yeah, and when you rely on that defense, they're a bend but don't break defense, but they're breaking down right now, so they're on the field for so long. So eventually they're going to give up some points, and it really showed this past weekend.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett just picked them apart, actually. So, but yeah, going back to Iowa State, they finally played up to their level of what everybody expected. I mean, a lot of people said they were dark horses to win the Big 12. Didn't get off to the start that they wanted to, but in the end, they had a huge win against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State really, just the Big 12, just the nature of the Big 12 this year, they're just not very consistent in that league. I mean, you have Texas who wins in the first half, but forgets that it's a 4-quarter game instead of a 2-quarter game. You have TCU who's up and down, and I think Patterson. I mean, he has a lifetime contract there, but it's getting a little dicey with him. Then you have Iowa State, who got off to a horrible start, but they're playing a lot better now. And then you have Kansas, who under Lance Leopold is getting a little bit better each and every week. They have been a tough out. Even though there's a lot of those ridiculous lines that they didn't cover early in the season, they're starting to cover those now. And then they gave Oklahoma everything they wanted. Oklahoma with Caleb Williams, we don't know what he's like now. So, I mean, you just got to look at how this thing's going and say, man, this Big 12 is tough to call. Pac-12 wise, Oregon with a Big
12 is struggling. You got Oklahoma State, who took a L this weekend too, who was looking to be the favorite in my book, to win that league over there. But now they just lost. Nope. I think the dark horse in this league is Baylor. I think Baylor is doing some really good things.
And I think Aranda's a dark horse to be the next. I think Aranda's the dark horse to be the next guy at LSU too.
Yes, but if I had to pick, it'd be him, and I would throw the book at Billy Napier at Louisiana. I would try to get him over there, because with him, you're going to get a couple of players from Louisiana as well, because he's recruited the state. He knows the state. He's a player's coach, But, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
And we were talking about this last night on SEC After Dark, Steve and I. And, LSU has a little bit of an ego, and I don't think their ego would allow them to hire somebody from Lafayette. They probably should, because he's probably the best one available for them. Mm-hmm. But it'd be like us hiring somebody from Georgia State.
Man, look,
like the ego involved on that. Like
ego, you got to toss the ego out the window when you're dealing with adolescent kids. I mean, they're young adults. I mean, they're basically still teenagers when they get there.
Mm-hmm. You just need the best person available, man.
That's exactly. You got to understand, like, who's going to come in and win the crowd. Basically, is what you're looking for. Who's going to come in and be like, "Hey guys, we're going to practice. We're going to have fun."
Yep, we're going to have fun.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. And Napier's the guy.
That's simple. It's really simple. Look at what he's done at Louisiana in 3 years? Look at what he's done.
There used to be
nobody knew that Louisiana even had a football team.
I know. I mean, they went. It's baffling that they won't even look at them, but they won't, because we're LSU. We can't stoop to the level of hiring somebody from Lafayette. And they still call him Lafayette.
Bo Pelini twice.
Yeah, exactly. Pump the brakes there, LSU. You didn't have enough to practice. Your issues go well beyond that. But speaking of guys in potential landing spots, James Franklin apparently is really laser sharp focused on Penn State and being loyal to Penn State, that he thought he was preparing for Illinois, in which they lost 2 in 9 overtimes this past Saturday. So he's laser focused.
That game threw me for a loop. I've never seen 9 overtimes, and I didn't know that you just go for 2 points every single time and you just trade possessions.
Yeah, once you get past 3, that was a new rule change. Once you get past 3, it turns into a shootout, basically, like a penalty shootout, where you just go play for play.
Yeah.
Until somebody loses. But the fact
I love Coach Franklin to death, but he's trying to get on the crybaby train a little bit for me right now.
Yeah, he's not the right guy for LSU. He's just not.
No.
I don't even think he's the
they're
right
gonna
guy
run
for
him out.
USC. Yeah, they'll run him out big time. Like he can market the program, but when it comes to other things,
Yes.
I just think big game adjustments and things like that. I don't think he could go toe to toe with Alabama, A&M, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas year in and year out. I just don't think he can.
No, he did at Vandy because it's Vandy.
The East was down.
Like no,
It's
nobody's
Vandy. The
looking
East
for you to do anything at Vandy, and you surprise people. But now you're at LSU, where it's known that LSU is really good. Now, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
They're expecting you to win.
Exactly. And same with USC. So I think he needs to stay his butt at Penn State until they fire him. You don't come off a loss like that to Illinois and be talking about USC. It's like, come on, bro, pump the brakes. They're going to get throttled this weekend. So I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me over the weekend. Just some surprisingly good games, but overall it was kind of a weak slate of games for college. The NFL was really good. If you want to follow us on social media, Matt, just look down. Our information is right below Israel and I. It is scrolling. Hit that bell notification. Subscribe to us on YouTube. All of that good stuff. If you want to find us, you can stream us and all that good stuff, and you can catch us and listen. And you can either watch us while you're at work or while you're on your drive to Athens or Jacksonville this particular week. You can check us out on the audio side of it anywhere you find your podcast on the Believe Network. So that's what we do. So the meat of the show now, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I don't care what you say, it's always going to be that. I don't care how. There's no battle by the river or whatever they're trying to call it in a van. That can go in a van down by the river for all I care. This is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and so
yes, it is.
That'll never change. So this game is very, very interesting because I think when you look at the quarterback situations for both teams, one is due to injury, but the other is due to they can't find a quarterback that they like. And talking about Florida with AR-15, who I called Antoine Robertson last week. I had a Lou Holtz moment. But it's Anthony Richardson. And then you have Emory Jones, which we said from the rip, Emory Jones ain't the dude. He's just not the guy. Like, I don't know what more you need to see from him. He's not the guy. Like, if you're going to take lumps, take them with AR-15. Yeah?
Yes, I say that right now. I don't think they developed
next week, though. Next week. Take it next week, not this week. You can go with Emory this week.
I don't think they developed Emory. I commend Emory for staying and being the guy that he is. He's an upstanding kid. I met him a few times when we've gone to Florida through. I think he's a great human being. I don't think they developed him as they should.
It's not a good fit.
There,
yeah,
exactly. When Tebow was there, they threw him in already. With Chris Leak and that whole era coming through, that national championship year, he was in there taking snaps and everything. Emory never got to do that. Emory came in mop up duty. So now you're thrusting him into an SEC schedule where you're supposed to be a contender this year for the East. And, when the lights come on and bullets start flying, some people get nervous. And I don't think it's a nervous factor. I think it's just an experience factor for him. It's different when you're playing against top-notch SEC guys. You see your guys every day at practice, but when you see other teams and then bullets start flying and you got to make your reads and they do things that you're not used to doing and they're moving fast while doing it, it's going to make you gun shy. So I don't put all the blame on him. Is he the guy?
No.
Not right now. Could he have been the
not
guy?
For Florida.
I think so. From the fact of what Mullen did with Dak. Exactly what Mullen did with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State is exactly what I thought he would do with Emory Jones, but he didn't.
Yeah. But because he didn't do that from the start. Like he already had that system. He already had that system in place at Mississippi State. When he got to Florida, things changed because his athletes changed. His quarterback changed. Like, you don't do that with Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask is not that guy. And he made an offense for Kyle Trask, and he's still trying to get some of those things in there with Emory Jones, and that's not going to happen. And Emory Jones was trying to develop in the Kyle Trask system, And it never worked.
Exactly. That's not his skill set.
No.
He reminds me more of a Chris Leak kind of guy.
Mhm.
You know, Chris Leak he's a pocket passer, yeah, but at the same time, he can run the football. You know, he can do things with his legs, you know, that people forget about, you know, and you got to think Dan Mullen also coached Chris Leak. It was for a year, but at the same time, he molded that offense to do what Chris Leak did well. Throwing on the run, using his legs, good run game, get the ball out quick to his receivers. But Florida's not doing that. They're trying to throw the ball downfield, which you could with Trask. You can't do that with Emory Jones.
No. And you could with Trask because you had Kadarius Toney. You had some guy named Kyle Pitts who is making some amazing catches for the Falcons right now. And I mean, you had the weapons to be able to do that stuff. You don't have those same caliber weapons. You lost a lot, and your recruiting just couldn't go. I mean, part of that is on Mullen because of his arrogance and thinking, yeah, we can just roll out and do the same stuff and we'll be fine. Emory will be fine. And, you know, we'll run the ball a little bit with Emory to do what he does well, but we're going to push the ball down the field, which that's not Emory's game. Emory's really good as an intermediate passer on the run. You move the pocket, move the chains. He's got a certain skill set that he's really good at. And
exactly,
if you don't follow that, that's on you. And so what Emory probably should have done, and I'm not a huge proponent saying, okay, if you don't play, transfer. You know, I'm not. But Emory should, like DeJuan Mathis transferred. He's flourishing up at Temple. They found what works for him. That level seems to work for him. He's doing really well. Maybe Emory Jones should have done a similar route. Maybe Emory Jones should have gone to the Big 12, or maybe he should have gone to the Pac-12. Maybe he should have gone ACC. Right? Like, he would have been so good at some of these other places. Like, can you imagine him at Syracuse under Dino
Illinois
Babers?
Illinois right now.
Or Illinois under Dino Babers, or Illinois under Bielema. You know, can you imagine him? I don't know that he'd fit in at Wake Forest. He's not that kind of passer, but I
think he fits in with what they want to do. You got to think of when Jamie Newsom was there. So I think he fits in exactly the scheme that they want to run. But at the same time, you're a play caller just like I am. Yeah. So, but Dan Mullen is definitely a little bit more arrogant than we are. But at the same time, you got to let's look at what Baltimore did for Jackson right now. They redid their whole entire offense.
And they bought into it.
In a year.
Yeah.
You know,
they bought into it.
So, you know, they got him in and they say, hey, you're going to be the starter. So what can you do well? And they found out what he can do well. I don't think Dan Mullen did that.
No,
you know, me and you, what do we find? We find out what can our quarterback do well.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of cater to what he does well. But if you're getting paid millions of dollars, the least you can do is find out what your quarterbacks can do well. Richardson, on the other hand, he can kind of be the guy that you want him to be, but he's not reading the field and reading defenses as well either. So what are you going to do?
The game's still moving way too fast for Richardson.
Yeah, he's a freshman.
He's a freshman, and that's understandable.
He's a big freshman, though. Ooh, that ball's pretty.
Very big freshman. Those are really good ball, but it's going to be prone to a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, he's going to make some big plays, but he's probably going to take one step backwards or one step forward, two step backwards with Richardson. Emory Jones is going to do the same thing because they didn't develop. They're very similar style quarterbacks, although Richardson has much more upside, obviously, because A, he's a freshman, and B, his skill set's a little bit stronger than Emory. So that scares me a little bit. But while they're being indecisive and while Dan Mullen is really just married to the system that he wants to do instead of doing what he has to do. Like, I don't think he wants to go back to that Mississippi State stuff. And he's like arrogant and cocky enough to say, well, Emory's just going to learn it. And
that's going to get you fired.
Yes. Which Florida, don't fire Mullen. Just let him be cocky. So yeah, I think when you look at the quarterback situation on that end, you know, I think Anthony Richardson provides much more issues for this Georgia defense than Emory Jones does. When you look at Georgia's quarterback situation, you have JT Daniels coming off an injury. Stetson Bennett is playing lights out. But JT is QB1. JT's upside and his ceiling is higher than Stetson Bennett. I'm sorry. Bennett is maxing out. Bennett, to me, is like that spot starter that comes in. He's kind of like what Gardner Minshew was for the Jaguars, right? Really good, like short-term starter, but if you get him starting too many games in a row, teams start to kind of figure him out.
Yeah.
And, he does have a ceiling, and it's not as high as JT. So I still think JT is the right guy for the job. It's nice to know that there's some things that Bennett can do that JT can't, that you can utilize. Do you see a 2-quarterback situation happening here where Bennett gets a lot more run than he would have gotten earlier in the year?
I think so.
Is it a good thing?
I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing to have 2 quarterbacks that if one goes down, the other can come in and do a job. We all know that JT is QB1. Like you said, we know that. That's what we want, honestly, and that's what's going to happen. At the same time, if he goes down, then you need to have a guy that's prepared and ready to go if that happens.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a competition between those two guys. I think it's more of, all right, if JT's healthy, JT's going to play. If JT can't go, that's you're going to be the guy.
Exactly.
The media and everybody's trying to make it a big deal. The kids don't care about it. I think the players don't care about it. I think it's just a point of, hey, we're going to go out here and play ball. So whoever starts on Saturday, I'm rooting for. I mean, if it's JT, I hope JT can come back and be healthy. But also, there's a risk factor. At the same time, you got to understand that these are kids. These kids have a life outside of football. I'm sure they want to do other things. Like, do we really want to risk, long-term injury, for a football game?
No,
just because this is what the people want. If Stetson can go out there and win us this football game, by all means, let him do it, and then let Stetson come back and not Stetson, but let JT come in, whenever he's ready, and we win that championship. It really doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
No, it doesn't.
Whether it's Stetson, if Stetson leads us to that time, people go, man, he led us to this time. I think that's awesome.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I mean, everybody knows this was JT's team coming up. I mean, injury, but I'm glad to have a 2-quarterback system to where if one goes down, the other one can come in, and we can still click, and he can still get the ball downfield. We don't skip a beat for whichever quarterback comes in. Stetson does give you the running ability a lot more than JT does. That's what I do like about Stetson. That you can't just key in on him and blitz, because we all know Grantham's going to blitz.
Oh yeah.
But Stetson gives you the ability to run. That zone read that we like to do, especially when you got 4 running backs that can take to the house at any point. We got a couple more guys healthy out wide now. So now you have to account for the pass and also run from running backs and the QB when Stetson's in the game. When JT's in the game, now you're pretty much balanced. You can, do whatever you want to. Because why? JT's not going to run football. They know that. We know that.
Yeah, but JT can also burn you in other ways too.
Yes.
In that regard of you start blitzing JT a little bit, and they're going to start RPOing you. They're going to start, pulling the ball and throwing it where you're not, and getting to the ball. Like, they have no problem dumping it down. You saw that angle route with James Cook.
It was beautiful. Oh, that was beautiful.
And they have no problem throwing that. No issues whatsoever. And they can throw that till the cows come home if you want to blitz linebackers. So I am all for that. So
yes.
I like it.
One thing that would scare me is if Florida went back and watched the Cincinnati game and the Missouri game from last year. Me and you talked about it last year. Missouri had us pegged, up until we threw 2 deep balls, to Pickens. Me and you were texting back and forth. Missouri had us pegged. They took away the RPO and everything. Cincinnati in the bowl game took away the RPO. So it goes back to being a coordinator. What can we do to manipulate the defense now? If I'm Florida, I'm going back and watching those 2 games, because those 2 games stick out in my mind of how to stop JT. We know he's an RPO master. He reads it very well, and we know the offensive line's clicking, and we got running backs. But what did they do to stop it? They can't afford to do that.
Yeah, can they do that? I mean, that's going to be the key. And can Grantham, at this point, can he teach them? How, can he adjust? Has he reached that level of his playbook yet? Like, has he reached those chapters yet? I don't think he has, because it's a mile thick. But I just don't think. Again, you watch this Florida defense, and I don't know that we have to throw the ball. We just run counter on them the whole time. That's what LSU did. But when you look at this Florida defense, they don't play very inspired. Looks like they have no energy. It looks like they don't know what they're doing.
No, I feel like they don't like
no
Dan Mullen.
They don't like
Dan Mullen.
I mean, how could he's a freaking weirdo? And Todd Grantham.
You got to think about
they don't like him either.
LSU with Ed Orgeron. You got to think when they won the national championship, you had young coaches. You had Dave Aranda, who everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had Brady, who everybody loved. Those two left, and look what happened. I don't think it's just Orgeron. And then you bring in Pelini, who everybody hates.
Oh God, talk about a baffling hire. Holy
so
cow.
I mean, you got to think of college football is just like me and you when we coach high school football, right?
It's all about relationships.
If kids don't like you, they're not going to play hard for you. They won't.
No, they don't trust you. They don't. You know, they think they probably think Mullen has got one foot out the door. First of all,
I think so too,
because he's lobbied for NFL jobs. Like he tried hard to get the Jets job, but there's something to it. And Mullen, like you watch he's just a weird guy. Like he's just odd.
He's not cool weird like Mike Leach. He's like weird, like scary weird.
Mike Leach is just like the smartest guy in the room, and he just kind of says what's on his mind. His
candy speech at the end of the game was absolutely priceless.
I love Mike Leach. Mike Leach is
he did a whole post-game speech about candy, Halloween candy.
Yeah.
Nothing about the game whatsoever.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. But Mullen is like that whole Urban Meyer tree is weird because you had Mullen, who is weird, arrogant guy, smug, you know, and then you have Tom Herman, who kisses his players, who is a freaking absolute weirdo at Texas. And you can see Texas, like how they play. They still got a little bit of Herman stench on them, where they just like it's odd how they finish games. Like you can see them in the first half.
It's going to take a year for Sark to get it, you know, how he wants it.
But he's got it going in definitely in the right direction.
He's got to go in the right direction.
You can see it, especially with Bijan Robinson. My God, he's one of my favorite players in the country. And then you had that Zach Smith guy who we all know what happened there. Got in a very public domestic dispute with his I guess ex-wife now probably.
Yeah.
And that whole like Urban Meyer covered up all that stuff and like that whole tree. And then of course Urban Meyer, you know, going knuckles deep into a co-ed in Columbus, Ohio. I can only imagine. I'm not on the Zoom window, but I can only imagine Courtney's face right now. That description.
Yeah.
But like it's weird. Like but going back to the original point, they don't play hard for Dan Mullen. They don't play over inspired. Like to have the talent they had last year and lose 4 games in the manner in which they lost them is mind boggling to me. Like,
but you got to think too, that team last year was player led team though. You had Trash, you had Pitts, you had guys on offense too. If Dan wasn't, you know, bringing the juice like they were,
it wouldn't have mattered.
You know,
it wouldn't have mattered if I was out there. Like it would not have mattered. Although I probably
they were going to do what they do. Yeah. But now it's like you can tell. It's like, oh well, here we go again. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Once it gets stagnant like that, like you got to make some changes. Like something's got to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys decommitting. You know, they've had a lot of. Yeah, we do. I'll take that. But I mean, you've had that problem for years. They're 2-6 in their last 8 against ranked opponents. Like it's just remarkably average down there. So, but defensively, are they going to be able to stop the RPO? Are they going to be able to stop the short to intermediate passing game? Are they going to be able to lock down Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers? You know, what are they going to do with all of that? How are they going to stop all those weapons? They can't blitz
sprinkle some of that freshman magic on you, boy. Y'all better watch out.
That's right. That's right. You can't blitz it to death.
No,
you can't. You just can't.
Bring a safety blitz if you want to.
Cool.
It's gonna be ball game.
Man, it's gonna be a wrap. Don't do it. You know, defensively, we learned how to stop a wheel route. because I noticed some teams tried the wheel route on us. We learned how to stop that. That's good. Running game wise, they're not going to be able to run on us like they've done on other teams with their running backs. It's not going to happen. I don't know if you know this guy. I don't know if you heard of him. His name's Jordan Davis.
Yeah,
I hear
two friends.
Yeah, and then he doesn't come to the backfield alone. That's for sure. So it's gonna be tough sled. And Emory Jones ain't Will Levis, and Will Levis had only one good drive against Georgia, where he was masterful. That kid's tough.
Did you see Jordan Davis split that? I know I missed it last week, but did you see Jordan Davis split the double team against Kentucky?
You're going to be more specific because he split the double team every time.
It was like 3rd and 1.
I
Going toward the big scoreboard. I said, "Holy crap!" He just split the hell out of that double team.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I had to make the point that he does it all the time. But yes, that was amazing. He just went right through it like they were two GAs holding dummies.
Yes, that's exactly what it looked like. He just split both. You just split 2 300-pound linemen like it was nothing. You just got skinny. You're at what, 340?
Yeah. God, that's unreal, man. There was one play where the center had him. He had the center like in position, and the running back cut back to the backside A gap, and most defensive linemen would not have really been able to get over there.
He moved him out the way,
but he just teleported from the B gap to the backside A gap across the center.
He teleported.
He's like I'm walking through the crowds in the hallway at school. He just excuse me. Nope. Just let me get right there. Tackled the back for no gain. Tackled Chris Rodriguez.
Huge factor in this game. Huge factor. The defensive line itself is going to be huge in this game. Because I don't think Florida's offensive line is very good.
No, they're not. They're not. And they're going to try to screen us to death too, which yes. I hope you do, because I don't know if you saw that play, second and goal or it was second and goal actually. First and goal, they ran it for a 1 yard gain, but second and goal from the 10. From about the 9.5, somewhere in that range. Second and goal, they set up a perfect, beautifully set up screen from Kentucky's part, right? They had 3 offensive linemen for Nakobe Dean, and they had a corner blocking the receiver, or they had a receiver blocking the corner. That's all Georgia had to defend the screen because everybody else took the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
What does Nakobe Dean do? He runs right by all three. All 3 makes the tackle for no gain.
Yes, and they got him the first time. They ran that screen twice on that drive. They got him the first time, and he was alone by himself. And that second time, he said, not today.
Not today.
And he would have made tackle.
Yeah, that hoop drill that they do, where they do the figure 8 around the hoop, and they have to scoop up the tennis ball. He did that drill.
Yes,
to get through those linemen. They didn't touch him. They didn't even see him. They're all looking around
that was
where the hell did he come from? Yeah.
And that's an in-game adjustment that shows you how smart our defensive players are.
Yeah. And what's really great about this defense, honestly, and I know it sounds like we're just the Sunshine Pumpers podcast here, but I mean, this team is special. But what makes this defense so good is that, and you can see it. I mean, you didn't need to see the game day segment where they talked about it. You can actually physically see it if you really watch how they interact with each other. But it doesn't matter who makes the play. Like Nakobe's going to celebrate Nolan Smith making a sack, even though he's nowhere near it. They're going to celebrate like each of them made the game-winning tackle in the Super Bowl for their teammate.
Yes,
because they're that close. This is probably when you talk about a close-knit group, especially this defensive front. Those guys they hang out with each other. They're really good friends with each other. They eat at the dining hall together. They go out with each other. They hang out around campus. They're together a lot, and it shows. And when you have that much chemistry, Israel, I can only imagine I mean, your wide receiver room was pretty tight when you were there. I mean, it just raises the level of play because everybody's rooting for each other.
Man, you gotta understand something about team chemistry. It's amazing. I was there. We had those really good runs for a little bit, and then we got kind of stagnant for about 2 years, and then my senior year, we go 0-2 to start the season. Well, we could have faltered, real quick. Then we rattle off 10 in a row.
Yeah,
10 in a row to be East champs and to play LSU. Give or take a player to the LSU game, we win the SEC championship. So I mean, team chemistry is what it is. Think about the year after that with that team, the 2012 team. The chemistry on that team. That started the year before. So I mean, you got to think like it's coaching. Of course, it's X and O's because that's what you need to win football games. But when you got team chemistry, you got players holding each other accountable, players that get along with each other, unselfish play. Those are what really win championships. Look at Alabama. Why do you think people keep going to Alabama? Because
it ain't because they're superior X's and O's. I can tell you that.
Well,
it's
exactly.
Because it's a family, and why do you think they keep winning? It ain't because they hired Bill O'Brien. It's some guy named Nick Saban. His process, the things that he does, keep it all together.
Exactly.
Right? Kirby's doing the same thing. That's why it's working. Dabo for a long time did the same thing. He had some crushing personnel losses that he couldn't recover from. But it's like, to me, team building, team chemistry is about at the lowest, at the minimum, 75%. And you have 25% scheme.
Easy.
And within that 75% of team chemistry is recruiting the right guys, the right mix of guys into your program that will come in and assimilate to your culture that you already have set. 25% is, okay, what are we going to do once we, what plays are we going to run? That's maybe 25%, if not less. But it's all about team chemistry. If your team's on the same page, I mean, it doesn't matter what you could run the wing T and you'd probably be pretty good because you're bought in and they're bought into each other. They're bought into the weight room program. Like Sinclair does a phenomenal job getting those guys, doing some team building exercise stuff, getting those guys bigger, stronger, faster, and believing in themselves. Like that. And, it doesn't hurt that the weight room's, 26,000 square feet. They have their own stadium stairs in the weight room. I know y'all are getting that at Monroe, right?
Yeah, right. We're just getting LED lights, so we're moving on up there. We're getting there.
I hear that. I think we're going to finally get the junk out of our team room. Like, we have half of our team room is filled with pallets of hand sanitizer, a pallet of field paint, and like all of the teacher desks and podiums and cabinets that they're going to get rid of. They just junked our team room with it.
Oh yeah, but y'all getting a whole new school though, which is great.
Yeah, one more year. One more year. Or a year and a half, really, because you got this year. But basically one more full school year, and then we're moving. So
sweet.
It's coming. I'm gonna be patient. So yeah, I think when you look at this matchup, I mean, honestly, Florida's team chemistry not very good. They don't play well for each other. It doesn't seem like they're not together. They definitely don't believe in Mullen. Their schemes are okay.
I don't think they don't look like they're happy.
They're not.
You look at every other team, like the Texas A&M, the Ole Miss, Georgia. Like, those players look happy. Florida players don't look happy.
Like, even when A&M was losing, like, they looked like, it was like, okay, we're good. And then they went on to beat Alabama, but they were like, all right, we're just fine. We're okay. We're okay. We're in this together. Rough patch. We're good. You don't see that at Florida. You're right. You're exactly right.
No, they look miserable. They look absolutely miserable. just like I am now because I'm having a coughing spell again.
Uh-oh. Did you
dying slowly?
I told you about swallowing those bugs. It's detrimental to your
dude,
health.
I think I just hit a pollen thing out here since the cold front's starting to come through. So it's allergy season once again.
You know what state doesn't have a high pollen count in late October? Tennessee.
What's that?
Tennessee.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
If you want to see snow on the ground, come to Tennessee.
No, I'm good.
You good? You don't want the snow?
No, if it even remotely they think it's going to snow here, they shut everything down.
Yeah, they do that here. We got like a foot of snow last winter. It was cool for like 3 days, and then you're like, okay, stuff can melt now. I'm tired of being cooped up in the house. I can't go anywhere. I don't want because you don't want to go anywhere because it's all ice.
If they even think it's going to snow here, everything gets canceled.
Yep. Same here. Everything's canceled. Everything's closed. Nobody wants to go anywhere. Nobody wants to work. Nobody really wants to work anyway, but it's even worse. But going back to this game, I think Georgia, with the weapons that they have, the team chemistry they have, the coaching staff, I think are going to put him in the right position. I think Monken gets it. You can tell he's got full throttle on the offense. So I think there's, the X factors are obviously going to be Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. How can they get involved? We know the running game's going to be there. We know Cook's going to be a big part of it. Zeus is going to be a big part of it. Is Milton healthy enough? I know he got some knocks on him, but is he going to be healthy enough to contribute? What's going to happen there? But this game's gonna lean through our super freshmen.
Yeah,
and
I think we got a group of great kids that can lead us to victory on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited for it. And I think it's gonna be amazing. So, with that, let's get into our picks, shall we?
Let's do it.
I think Georgia wins big. So we know what we're picking there.
Yes.
So. I'll go ahead and say, Israel, you're taking the Dogs, right?
What is the spread for that game? I thought is it 14?
It's 14
earlier today.
Yeah, it's 14.
Yeah, I like this by 14.
It'll probably get teased down to about 12.5. I guess I think by the end of it, but I think ultimately it's going to be in the 12.5 to 14.5 range. All right, let's start with Missouri on the road. They're in Nashville, 16-point favorites over Vanderbilt. Do you think Vanderbilt can cover that? I know they've made a ton of changes at quarterback. They still can't settle on one. If you listen to the Believe in Vandy podcast, they're out already on Clark Lee. That's how bad it's getting. Do you think Vanderbilt can cover this, or they just hired him? They're done with him already.
He just got there
because he's a cyborg on the sideline. He shows no emotion.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
Like he nothing. Like Coach Richt seemed like you compare him to Coach Richt, and because that was arguments about Coach Richt.
Yeah, that's the only reason I say that, because that was the argument. But you guys never heard him at halftime.
Yeah, Coach Richt would show emotion on the sideline. You could tell he was talking to people. He was at least in the headset saying stuff and walking and making adjustments. Clark Lee is a freaking statue. He says nothing, emotes nothing.
Yeah,
like you don't
he looks
ever
like
see
an angry Mr. Clean.
That's a great comparison. You never actually hear him say anything into the headset. So with that, I'm picking Mizzou.
I'm going to go with Mizzou. Although I will say this, Vandy has gotten better from game to game. They really have.
They've improved, but
yeah, I think Vandy's offense is a little bit more than they can handle.
Yeah, it is. Ole Miss travels to the Plains to take on Auburn. Auburn is 3-point favorites in this one. This is an interesting one because I think Ole Miss is better, but Auburn at home, and depending on how Bo Nix plays, this is an interesting one. To me, I think Ole Miss is going to ultimately win this because they finally got back to the Ole Miss that they know and love against LSU. I think they finally kind of got their groove back a little bit. They lost it for a few weeks. I think Alabama broke them for a couple of weeks, but I think they're back and they fixed some of the problems. Corral is kind of stabilizing again, and they're back to being what we expected out of Ole Miss all year long. So, to me, I think Ole Miss is going to win this one. Anytime there's a 3-point spread, it kind of a pick 'em anyway. I think their defense is playing well enough to disrupt Bo to the point where he coughs it up a couple of times, and that's all Ole Miss really needs is those slight little breaks, and they need a break or two, and they can blow a game wide open.
I think if Ole Miss can get Bo Nix to throw the football, they win the football game. If Auburn can run the football, Ole Miss is going to lose because that's what Bo is going to do. He's not going to put it in Bo Nix's hands to lose. If they can force Bo Nix to throw the football, Ole Miss will win. But all around, I think Ole Miss wins regardless, simply because Matt Corral's playing great. They're running the football. Wow, his RPO game, he's not turning the ball over like he did last year either.
Right.
So I think Ole Miss goes to the Plains and wins one. From the simple fact of I think they're just playing better football as a whole right now than Auburn is. I think Auburn had that one good game, kind of giving them a little bit of confidence. But can you put two back to back? I don't think they can.
No, I don't think they can either. And, I think Ole Miss is going to win that one. Kentucky travels to Starkville, 1.5-point favorites. This is a pick 'em. I feel like you take the money line on a lot of these games and you're going to be in good shape. Kentucky, I think they're just a better team all around. I think they're more physical. I think they play a better brand of football. I think Will Levis is dialed in. I like the Wildcats. I think they're going to win big.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say this. But you got to think every offense that Georgia's defense has faced, the quarterback had a really good game the very next week. Granted, Arkansas, ran for 6,000 yards against Ole Miss, but it's Ole Miss's defense, But can Kentucky bounce back from playing Georgia's defense? If they do, Kentucky's going to win. I'm taking Kentucky regardless, but that 1 point is looking real 1 point-ish right now.
Yeah, where you think they're going to kick a field goal at the end to win it, or they're going to be up by one and make some big stop.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Kentucky's going to win kind of big. I just think they're better up front than Mississippi State. They're going to push Mississippi State around. They're going to kind of bully them a little bit. That's all for the conference games. We're going to go outside the conference. Michigan, I never thought I'd say this, they're on fire. They travel to East Lansing to play another team who's on fire, speaking of. They're 4-point favorites on the road in East Lansing. I like Michigan here. I just think, again, it goes to that battle up front. I think Michigan is better in the run game. I think they're better up front. I think they're going to push Michigan State around a little bit more than Michigan State usually gets pushed around this year under Mel Tucker. I just think Michigan's that type of team. And so, to me, it's a rivalry. It's not as much of a publicized rivalry because Michigan-Ohio State is kind of like the Red Sox Yankees. ESPN's going to just shove that down your throat. And Michigan State is pretty, it's a pretty big deal. But I think Michigan ends up winning this game. I like their run game a lot better. I like McNamara at quarterback. I think he's playing really, really well. I think Jim Harbaugh finally got a guy that fits his system, fits his style of coaching, fits whatever you wanted fit. But I think they finally found their perfect match, and they're playing like it. So I'm taking the Wolverines here.
Not so fast, my friend.
Oh,
Sparty's playing some really good football. I love what Mel Tucker's done this year with Sparty. They're playing some inspired football. The defense is playing great, and it's in East Lansing. I got to go with Sparty on this one. And, it's probably going to come down to what it usually comes down to in that game. It's going to be a special teams play that's going to change the momentum of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It always is. And in the big house, that seems to be what happens. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to stick with my pick of Michigan. So Penn State preparing for Illinois. Wait, no. Hold on. I got turned to the page last week. Penn State preparing for Ohio State. Ohio State's 18.5-point favorites at home. They had a statement game last week against Indiana. And statement it was 44-7 at half. Ohio State is explosive. I think they're going to cover this because James Franklin has his head in L.A. or Baton Rouge or wherever he's going to go. He has his head everywhere except for Penn State. Because when James Franklin starts saying I am, he starts overusing adjectives and adverbs to tell you how loyal he is to Penn State. He ain't staying. He did the same shit. He's not staying.
I tell my kids, whenever my kids start using big words, I'll be like, I said, why you be lying?
Yeah.
I said, you lie. So I'm taking Ohio State in this one from the simple fact is Penn State got caught looking ahead last week. They really did. That's what it boils down to. They got caught looking ahead. No matter if Franklin's going to take a job or not, they got caught with their pants down last week looking ahead to Ohio State. But guess what? Ohio State took care of business last week. So, of course, with you going into the horseshoe this week, of course, they're going to want to beat your brains in and give you further reason.
They're trying to make a statement regardless. It doesn't matter the opponent.
Exactly. Because they're trying to do what? Get into the playoff because they have one loss. So they're trying to make it look really good to the committee that, hey, we done beat the hell out of all these teams. So, you can't keep us out.
No, you can't.
So I'm looking for them to win big this week.
And if they win big, it'd be hard to. So, but that's a great pick right there. I think Penn State is Franklin's not long for that place. But our next one is we have two battles of Texas. You have SMU and Houston. That's basically a pick 'em. 1 point in favor of Houston, which to me seems like really easy money because SMU is red hot. Sonny Dykes, if he is not the next coach at Texas Tech ought to just disband their football program at that point because his name is gold in Lubbock. I'm
going with SMU on that one too. They're playing some dang good football.
Yes, they are.
I hate it for Texas Tech because I think offensively they've always been really good, but at the same time you got to think they've been really bad on defense, and
it's kind of Holgerson's MO, right? Man,
I hate that. So I think if Sonny Dykes does get that job, I think he'd bring a little bit more defensive. Although he's an offensive guy, I think he brings more defense to the table. But I do like
he's a good all around coach. He understands the physicality and the importance of having a good defense. He doesn't have his head in the sand like some of these Big 12 schools do with, I'm an offensive guy and, then they can't evaluate a defensive coach. Sonny Dykes has a really good staff and they play a really good brand of football. And I really like what they're doing at SMU. And I hate that SMU bring more of the – go ahead. I hate that they have to I hate that they're going to potentially lose Sonny Dykes because I think he's been really, really good for that program.
I think he's going to bring more of the Gary Patterson type attitude to the Big 12. He's going to be like, hey, we're going to play defense. We're going to score a lot of points, but we're also going to play defense at the same time.
I love it. I'm here for it. And if he does it at Texas Tech, I will. Texas at Baylor. Baylor's 3-point favorites. We just got done raving about Baylor. Baylor as an institution, awful. So Aranda needs to go ahead and beat the hell out of Texas and get the hell out of Waco. Because he might turn into Art Briles. And you know what I'm talking about. So I think Baylor's gonna win this game. I think Texas right now, they're just too up and down for me to trust them. Could Texas win this game? Absolutely. They're talented enough to do it. They've played well enough at times to win this game and maybe even win it big. But for Texas, they're just not there yet. They're just not. I can't trust them. I'm taking Baylor.
I'm taking Baylor as well. I think Baylor's the better all-around team from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint because they're going to play all 4 quarters. That's one thing they're going to do. They're going to play all 4 quarters. We all know Texas is going to play about 2, maybe 3.5, if that. So they're going to have their hands full. It's going to come down to maybe the last 2 drives of the game to who's going to decide to win that game. And I think Baylor has a little bit more heart than Texas right now.
They do. And Aranda's a really, really good coach. I love what they're doing. It was kind of an odd hire at first, but I think Aranda's a very matter-of-fact guy, and he's kind of a quiet guy. You don't really hear much you don't really hear much from him. I mean, I know he handles business, and I know he emotes on the sideline, unlike his counterpart Clark Lee. You look at these, but he's not like going crazy and bonkers like a lot of defensive guys do. He's very reserved, but he's kind of a quiet-natured guy. But when very passionate about that, very passionate on character building and team building and all that stuff, and that's why I think he's doing really well at Baylor. So, our next game, UVA. This is a Bronco Mendenhall special, contractually to get out of his deal at BYU. He had to schedule a home game with BYU. So Virginia is traveling to Provo. Yeah, talk about an exit plan, right? UVA is traveling to Provo to take on the Cougs. For me, I like the Cougs. It's a home game for them. Sataki's doing a tremendous job at BYU. They didn't skip a beat when Zach Wilson left. They have a lot of great pieces, and they're playing really, really tough football. Virginia is just one of those teams. They're one of those ACC teams that you're not real sure about. They're well coached, but they're up and down with how they play. Beat the hell out of Georgia Tech last week, but they're just kind of – I'm not ready to trust them on a consistent basis and really know what to expect out of them, especially on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and take BYU on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take BYU too. I think, like you said, I think they're too up and down for me. We know BYU's not up and down. The one game against Boise, they just turned the ball over. They had 3 or 4 fumbles in that game. Very uncharacteristic of a BYU team. So I don't think, and it hadn't happened again since. So I think they fixed that. That's a long road for UVA to travel. So I'm definitely taking BYU in this one, and they got the Dancing Cougar. So I think that's kind of hard to beat as well.
You can't beat the Dancing Cougar. Once the Dancing Cougar gets dancing, you're done. You're cooked.
Ball game.
And I'm watching the Packers Cardinals game. Cardinals are it looks like they're getting ready to take their first loss here, but
oh no,
I know. The Green Bay's tight end I think just blew out his ACL. But speaking of tight ends, Iowa travels to Camp Randall. Take on the Badgers. The Badgers struggling big time. This is the worst I've seen the Badgers under Paul Chryst. This is definitely the worst offensive line the Badgers have ever put together. Their combination of 5 guys. They just can't seem to get on the same page. They can't seem to find a running game, but they are improving a little bit. Graham Mertz is, I think, finally kind of refinding himself. They've got a 17-year-old running back who's probably just one of the strongest kids on the team, Braden Allen. And I just think that when you look at this Wisconsin team, they're struggling. They're looking for something. This is also a game that if you blink, it's over because both teams
about to say the same thing.
There you go. Great minds think alike, Israel. That's why we're together on this show. That's why you're sitting in that chair and I'm sitting in this one. But Iowa, I just think Iowa's just more talented.
I think Iowa's gonna do some things to confuse the Badgers a little bit, kind of like what Penn State did to them earlier this season.
Yeah.
Especially since they're struggling in the run game, you got to find a way to move the football. Like you said, like we both said, if you blink, this game's gonna be over because we all know what's gonna happen. Iowa's gonna line up in the power eye. Wisconsin's gonna line up in the power eye, and they're gonna run the football. We all know that. They're gonna run the football and play defense. It's like gonna be like watching tennis. 3 and out, punt, 3 and out, punt. So
if you like ugly football, it's going to be that.
Yeah, this game's going to come down to who doesn't make mistakes. If you turn the ball over one time, there's a free one. If you turn it over twice, you're going to lose. And I think Iowa's going to get more turnovers than anybody.
Yeah, Wisconsin has been a little bit more careless with the football than Iowa has been. So I'm going to take the Hawkeyes here. So. But that's going to do it, man. That's going to wrap up our picks. We're all ready for the Georgia-Florida game. Are you going to go down there or are you just gonna hang tight in Albany and?
Yeah, I'm gonna go trick or treating with my babies. We had tickets to go. Actually, me and my wife did, but we got actual kids that can run and jump and play now. So we're gonna go trick or treating with them and ride around the neighborhood. But I will be tuned in at 3:30. We're going trick or treating after the game. Yeah,
that's the best thing. We're gonna be trick or treating Sunday night, so that's not gonna affect us. Our neighborhood's gonna be lit on Sunday. I'll have to give you a recap of that, man. It's gonna be insane. It always is. I mean, it's to the point, Israel, where we sit in the driveway. We set up a table. We put some decorations in the driveway that night that we bring out, and we just have our candy bowls in the driveway, and we just chill because there's no use in staying inside because you're just going to be up and down the whole time.
Yep.
So you might as well just, because we have a haunted, like we have this lady who has this entire setup on the top of our hill on our street, and we get about 200 every year.
Man, that's awesome.
That's
kind of like our neighborhood right now. Everybody's kind of setting up and moving around right now. So I think it's going to be fun. Hey, everybody be safe. There are still some crazy people out in the world. So be safe and watch your babies, as you go trick-or-treating and have a good time. I mean, you got football on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. The largest cocktail party in the whole world this weekend. Those of you traveling, be safe as well. I've been as a player and, as a spectator now, and I promise you as a spectator, you can't beat it. So everybody be safe down there this weekend.
Absolutely. And that's going to do it for us. If you want to follow us, just look down below before we get out of here. Subscribe, hit that bell notification, let you know when we have new content. We are doing this thing called echoing. So on our channel, we're echoing all of the other content from Willis Digital Media. My show, SEC After Dark and Beast of the East and Biscuits and SEC and stuff like that. We're kind of echoing some of those shows on our channel. So be sure to check out that stuff too, and check out the main event, which is us. And you'll get all your content there. So subscribe, comment, tell a friend about it. Pass the word that this is the best Georgia podcast that you'll ever listen to, or that you'll ever watch, depending on how you consume us. But if you're watching, we thank you. If you're listening, we thank you. However you're consuming our show, we thank you for that. And so for Israel, I'm Corey. This is the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast presented by betonline.ag on the Believe Podcast Network and Brinks TV. We thank you for being a part of the journey. We hope you have a great Friday, a even better weekend, and we hope the Dogs win, and we hope you have a safe trip to Jacksonville if you are going. Otherwise, go Dogs, and we'll see you back here next week.
Go Dogs.
This is the Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Podcast Network.